You're listening to a GWP weather update. It's Saturday, March 14th, 2026, and I'm Jacob Fulmer here. And today we are going to be looking at a storm system that's going to move through tomorrow, dropping off temperatures significantly, bringing the chance for severe weather as well as the chance for snow across Missouri. So we're going to start off by looking at our current weather alerts here. This is from the National Weather Service's weather alerts across the country. And you'll notice that we have all sorts of different alerts here. We'll just start out west here, where we've got some heat advisories in effect, and then we've got excessive heat watches here in that darker, kind of reddish color. And so that's where we could actually be dealing with temperatures in the triple digits over the next couple of days, as a rare heat wave is going to move in across the desert Southwest. Of course, triple digit heat is not out of the ordinary in, like May and June and July, but March is pretty rare for us to see temperatures there into the triple digits. But that's exactly where we're going to be at over the next couple of days. That extreme heat watch has been issued for those areas. We've got wind alerts. We're currently under a wind advisory here in the state of Missouri, as we're going to be experiencing some very strong winds as we go into tomorrow as well as into Monday with that storm system. We've got freeze alerts, as this cold front is going to drop off temperatures significantly across the eastern two-thirds of the country, and we're going to get below freezing as far south as Alabama and Arkansas, where we do have those freeze alerts. Then we have the fire risk across Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, into Oklahoma as well from some of those stronger winds. This is in the drier section of that storm system, where again there's going to be a fire risk across that area because of these strong winds. High wind warnings in effect across a large portion of the Central Plains, going all the way over from really the Rockies, extending through the plains here, even into northern Missouri. We've got those high wind warnings. And so with those high wind warnings, we are actually looking at the possibility of tropical storm force sustained winds with the potential of 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. This is not even related to the severe thunderstorms that we're going to have tomorrow. This is just wind that is without the thunderstorms. So keep that in mind here. We've got wind advisories here across the state of Missouri, where the winds are going to be a little bit less extreme, but still gusting at times at around 50 miles per hour. Then we've got heavy snow and ice to the north. We've got blizzard warnings in effect across Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, as well as into South Dakota and Minnesota as well, where we could be looking at some areas picking up a couple of feet of snow over the next 48 hours with blizzard conditions because of those high winds. Just as a reminder, a blizzard has nothing to do with the amount of snowfall. It's about the intensity of the snowfall reducing the visibility. That's really what it comes down to. It comes down to wind, visibility, and duration. The winds must be 35 miles per hour or stronger, and you must have a quarter-mile visibility or less. And both of those conditions must be occurring for at least a minimum of 3 hours. And so we have the potential to see that. In fact, the likelihood that we will see that this weekend here across this area highlighted here in the orange color, indicating those blizzard warnings, and then wind advisories extend into Indiana and Kentucky, as well as more winter weather advisories across Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan as well. We've even got blizzard warnings across the Montana area as well. So again, all sorts of different alerts here. Those wind alerts also extending into the Northeast as well, where we're going to get in on the action as we go into Monday. So all sorts of just different alerts here that we have across the lower 48, a lot of them relating to the storm system here. And so we're looking at the possibility for some severe weather, as we mentioned. The National Weather Service in Springfield, Missouri, putting out this in their weather story here. So again, this is the weather story from Springfield, Missouri. Again, the risk is going to be between about 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. for a line of thunderstorms to move in, posing the risk for severe weather. Our main risk is going to be strong gusty winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour with the risk of isolated tornadoes. Now, the tornado risk is extremely low. In fact, across our region in particular, it's just about zero. So it's pretty low, but the wind risk is the one that we we really need to watch out. Now, the storms are going to be developing right on top of the state of Missouri, which means it's possible that they develop just to the east of us, which means we may not have any thunderstorms at all. Or they may develop just a little bit to the west of us, strengthen, produce 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, and affect us. So that's why we have a lower severe weather risk overall than some of the other areas out to our east. But that's why we do still have a severe weather risk, even though we might not see any severe warnings. Now, unlike some of the severe weather we've had over the last couple of weeks, this is not going to be an overnight threat simply because that cold front is going to move through, and that's going to limit any severe weather that we have after the afternoon. So 12 to 6 p.m., that's really going to be our window. At least for our viewing area, that window is going to be closing at about 3 or 4 p.m. So we're talking late mid-morning as we go in, or I guess mid to late morning as we go into tomorrow and into the early afternoon hours. That's where we're going to have that risk here, that enhanced risk staying to our southeast here along Interstate 44. We're talking about that slight risk that includes Columbia, Jefferson City, Lake of the Ozarks down to Stockton, and then Joplin's kind of right on the edge of that. And then here across Nevada over to Lamar, so the western portion of our viewing area, we've got that marginal risk where thunderstorms may not actually develop. So further to the east and south, that's where you're going to have the higher risk for severe weather. The cold front moves in. That's going to bring a really big drop in temperatures. In fact, we're going to go from the 60s in the morning. We're going to have morning highs in the 60s, temperatures in the 40s and 30s in the afternoon. And even by the evening, we're going to be below freezing. And so that means that there's the possibility for some accumulating snow across the state of Missouri. Now, the further south you go, of course, that's where you're going to have your lower chances. But again, a trace of snow or a dusting is going to be possible, and it could freeze very quickly on those roadways. Now, of course, because temperatures have been so warm the last several days, we're not going to have a whole lot of accumulation, but a few slippery spots on the roadways cannot be ruled out. And so that's something that we need to watch. But that's not all. We also have that wind threat. As we mentioned, we have a wind advisory that goes in effect across the entire area from starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow through 7 a.m. Monday. And really, it's going to be windy all day Monday, but the worst of the wind is going to end in the morning hours on Monday. But 10 a.m. to 7 a.m., that's where we're looking at the possibility of winds gusting at 40 to 50 miles per hour. Now, you might say, wait a second, I thought you said 60 to 70 miles per hour. That's for the severe thunderstorms during the early afternoon on Sunday. But outside of those thunderstorms, wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour are going to be possible, maybe even stronger just to our northwest as you get closer to Kansas City. So travel may be difficult for high profile vehicles, especially, so you'll want to watch out for that. If you have any loose outdoor objects, any small furniture, or different plants and stuff, that's possible that those can move around. And so you'll want to be mindful of that. You may want to move a few things inside if you have them out on your front porch or anything like that. And then small limbs may also break and fall, and a few spotty power outages will be possible. Of course, power outages could also result from the severe thunderstorms that are going to move in Sunday night as well. So likely not going to see widespread power outages, but a few isolated power outages cannot be ruled out. As we mentioned, this cold front is going to drop off temperatures significantly. We will be in the 60s during the morning hours tomorrow. We will drop until we get to below freezing during Sunday evening with those snow chances. But then as we go into Monday morning, we're looking at temperatures in the teens, but we talked about how it's going to be really windy as well. So that's going to lower the wind chill. And so our wind chill values will be in the single digits across southwest Missouri. As you get closer to Columbia, wind chills could be below zero. And so you'll want to make sure that you cover any exposed skin, that you bring your pets indoors, of course, and then you stay indoors if possible because dangerously cold temperatures are going to be possible as well. So that's something that we're going to have to watch out for. So going back to the SPC severe weather risk. So what are our main hazards? Again, tornado threat is mainly to our east, but the wind threat, that's going to be the really big concern here. Again, this is your day 2 severe weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, showing that we do have that slight risk across the eastern portion of the viewing area, and then we've got that marginal risk in the western portion of the area. So looking at the radar, so again, we've got some heavy snow and ice that's going to be going on just to our north as we go through tomorrow. snow. Again, feet of snow possible in Wisconsin with blizzard conditions at times. But you'll notice across our area, we'll start off with clouds during the morning. Late morning, our line of thunderstorms begins to develop around 10 or 11. We're not exactly sure where that's going to happen, and that's going to determine who's going to get the severe weather and who's not going to. That line of thunderstorms will strengthen to the east of us. The tornado threat will ramp up, but the storms will already be out of here by about 3 p.m. By 3 p.m., a very strong cold front should have moved in by that point in time, so temperatures will be dropping, and then eventually by Sunday evening, anytime between 4 p.m. and about midnight, light snow is going to begin to move in. Temperatures will now be around or below freezing, and so that will allow for light accumulating snow to move in, and then eventually that will move out as we go into the early morning hours. So, how much snowfall are we talking about? In Nevada, maybe a dusting, probably not a whole lot of accumulation. As of right now, I'm expecting maybe a few flakes of snow possible. What about here in the Columbia region? Probably around a dusting to a half an inch. Some areas could get upwards of an inch of snowfall. That is going to be a possibility. And then again, as we mentioned, big drop in temperatures here. You'll notice there's that really big swing here as we go into Monday and Tuesday. Temperatures dropping to around 20 degrees below average. And then as we go into Wednesday, we'll get near average. By the end of the week, temperatures will return in the 60s and 70s and will end up being 15 degrees above average towards the end of this week. So the colder temperatures behind this cold front are not going to last for long. So certainly quite the spring storm after we had temperatures in the mid 70s today across Missouri. Now we're looking at the possibility of snow as we go into tomorrow with severe thunderstorms ahead of that. And so that's something that we're going to have to watch as we go into tomorrow. Of course, here on GWP, we'll continue to update you on all the latest information. That's all that we have for this evening. Have a good evening.